Welcome back to Chow Time Pods. Your host, Red. I got a video from All Asian Dilemmas.
Before, getting married meant looking at a person's character.
True.
Today, getting married means looking at their credit history.
And even credit history is just some fake made-up number that some FICO bureau or whatever just made up so they can judge you on how you borrow money.
Adding a name to a property doesn't count as a gift. The bride price can be reclaimed, and assets purchased with parents' money belong to the individual, not the couple.
Damn right.
Every drop of ink in the new marriage law is mixed with the tears of ordinary people. On February 1st, 2025, the new judicial interpretation of the marriage law officially came into effect. But what's most surreal is that the more the law changes, the more insecure young people become. Some celebrate.
I would think it's more women that are being insecure because it seems the laws are leaning more towards male evenness or male, equality.
Saying they finally won't lose the house anymore.
Yep.
Others lament, claiming that getting married now is worse than signing a contract. But most people are asking why marriage went from a lifetime, 2 people to a house, a car, and an agreement. Some say this is the coldest and most ruthless reform in the history of marriage in China. The law protects assets, not feelings. What few realize
Correct. Nobody cares about your feelings. Feelings aren't true assets.
is that every revision of this law has been written with the blood and tears of ordinary people. In 2008, in Beijing, a young man named Zhong Wei added his girlfriend's name to the apartment his parents bought to prove his love. 3 years later, she cheated on him. The court ruled that half the property belonged to her.
Isn't that crazy? Like, it was because you love her, you put her name on the deed. Now she gets to take half of it, which is kind of stupid in a sense for that man to even give her, to put her name on the deed since it was an apartment that your parents bought you and already paid for.
Zhong's father, overwhelmed with anger, suffered a stroke and lay in the hospital repeating over and over that not even a thief could steal half a house. In 2022, the case of the apartment bride in Shanghai went viral. She got married, added her name to the property, divorced quickly, cashed out, and left. A clean, efficient operation that...
And again, this is more of a women issue because men don't do this. We don't really have the ability to do this. We can't go find a rich woman and just get married and take half her assets like that.
Wiped out years of savings from middle-class families. From I love you to a price tag, the marriage law became a get-rich manual for scammers. It was in this context that the new rules came into force in 2025. Properties purchased before marriage, even if a name is added, mean nothing without real financial contribution.
Which makes total sense. If I've had this house before you, and I paid this house myself, and I still pay this house myself, even though you came and lived with me and we're married now, it's still my house.
Assets given by parents are not subject to division. At most, there is symbolic compensation. Bride price transfers must have clear proof. Separation means returning everything to square one. In just over a decade, the law shifted from protecting feelings to protecting wallets. It seems cold, but it's powerless. The law evolved.
The protecting feelings things is definitely what the U.S. really cares about, isn't it? They don't care about the assets. They care about protecting women's feelings.
Nature regresses. When I love you becomes a code for laundering assets, marriage turns into legalized fraud. There are people who train women to marry quickly.
And shout outs to our brother that emailed me this video and wanted me to feature it. It's a good video.
Add their name to a property, and divorce to split assets. In one Shanghai case, half of a man's premarital property was taken. The woman later married a real estate agent. In Jiangxi, a professional marriage scam group disguised as matchmaking raked in over 10 million in 3 years.
Bam, a professional matchmaking scam group. I wonder when that's going to be a thing here in the United States of just guys creating matchmakers just to scam women.
When police shut it down, the
We'd probably be in jail if we did that, though.
victim list spanned 37 pages. In Shenzhen, a businesswoman was deceived by her boyfriend, who used the excuse of starting a business together to take 20 million from her.
Damn.
In court, he claimed she gave the money willingly, calling it an investment in love. Once again, every drop of ink in the new marriage law was mixed with the tears of ordinary people. The law is forced to evolve through tragedy, but every dispute signals the death of trust. That's why netizens joke that before, marriage was about character. Now it's about credit scores. The new law tore away the last veil of tenderness. Either you talk about money, or you talk about nothing. Data shows that in 2024, marriage registrations fell to just over 6 million couples, the lowest number in history. Meanwhile, consultations for prenuptial agreements surged by 300%.
Men need to protect themselves, and we're seeing it very clearly. It's only in the last, decade or so is when men really been looking into the whole, prenup as in mass.
Lawyer friend told me that today the contract comes before the love letter. The irony is that the more the law protects assets, the more love starts to look like a business.
True.
In
I can totally admit that it does look that way.
Dating markets in cities like Hangzhou, everything now has a listed price. Men in public sector jobs with high salaries demand property as a bride price. Women educated overseas, with multiple properties in their own names, refuse prenuptial agreements and end the conversation immediately. One older woman summed it up bluntly: getting married today is like buying a company. You have to do due diligence. Matchmaking agencies have launched full background check services, analyzing bank statements, criminal records, and even hotel stays.
Ooh, criminal records. Might not come out too clean.
Business is booming. We are witnessing an absurd reality. Finding a partner is harder than finding a...
I'm seeing this now, and it's like, it might be a trend that might be coming to the US. Maybe we should start making up businesses where we're just doing background checks and a lot of checks on people that are getting married. It might be a new industry, guys. It's like, oh, you're getting married? You want to know everything about the person you're marrying? Come to Chow Time marriages or something. I don't know.
A business partner. Data from Beijing shows extremely high divorce rates, with most cases involving property disputes. Marriage has become an exact science. The core logic of the new law is simple. What's yours is yours.
True.
What's mine is mine, and feelings go in the trash. Adding a name to a property only counts.
I don't think feelings go into the trash. It's just feelings aren't so important, right? They still care about your feelings, but what's the more important thing, to make it fair asset-wise, or to cater to or coddle feelings? Come on.
Counts if the mortgage is jointly paid. Parents' money remains parents' money. With clear documentation, even the cost of tiles can be claimed in a divorce. In one emblematic case, a full-time housewife received monthly compensation lower than a cleaner's salary. This recalls an economist's metaphor comparing marriage to starting a company together, with each party contributing resources. The difference is that now even the shares of love have been delisted. Young people did the math and realized that in major cities, the cost of marriage reaches into the millions, while the risk of divorce is equivalent to a bankruptcy warning.
Yeah, but who incurs most of that cost, right? This is where, even though this video is speaking about how expensive marriage is, who's incurring most of that cost? It's usually men, the breadwinner, right? And again, yes, it's the breadwinner, but the breadwinner is 90% men.
This isn't getting married, it's betting your life. The most frightening part is the vicious cycle of gender hostility. Men attack women they label as gold diggers.
True.
Women attack men they see as opportunists.
True.
On social media, there's content teaching how to voluntarily transfer assets or exploit the law to one's advantage.
I mean, we have that here. It's called Sprinkle Sprinkle Lady. And then we have Drizzle Drizzle. And then we have all these other things. We have Passport Bros. Things to try to, band-aid or patch the issue.
When the law only protects property, love becomes a luxury good. As one divorce lawyer put it, today a marriage certificate is basically a property distribution contract. Faced with this crisis of trust, many young people simply give up on marriage. Others choose contractual relationships, with fixed terms and renewal clauses.
Renewal clauses? That's crazy.
There are even apps offering marriage experiences, where users simulate divorce and asset division. In this deadlock...
Wait, what? You simulate divorce? It's an app that simulates divorce? What the hell?
The solution may lie in two models. The first is the European cohabitation model, with no certificate and no shared assets. If it works, stay. If not, walk away.
I don't hate on that. It was you bring what you bring, you leave what you leave.
The second is the Middle Eastern contractual model, where marriage contracts detail even the frequency of dates, reducing disputes. 100 years ago, when free love was recognized, young people shouted that love would conquer all. Today, many sigh that love is dead. Marriage was never just romance. It was always resource integration. In the past, there were guaranteed homes, lifetime jobs, and security. Today, housing prices crush love, layoffs destroy stability, and marriage can no longer bear the weight of this era. In the future,
I mean, yeah, the weight of life nowadays, the cost of life it's hard to bear on top of marriage.
marriage will either fully return to feelings or fully transform into a business. For today's young people, there are three truths to face. First, the law doesn't protect promises, only assets, and a prenuptial agreement isn't coldness, it's clarity.
True.
Second, feelings must be nurtured, but assets require proof,
True.
records, and evidence. Third, human nature fails, but systems can learn. Some say that before talking about love, it's better to sit down, have tea, and sign a letter of intent. For those who still believe love
I mean, it makes sense. It's like, what do we want out of this between the two of us? Do we want a family? Do we want assets? Do we want to just live together and not deal with anything? Like, what exactly do we want? I think more people should be speaking about this when we get together. Like nowadays, like the situationships and stuff. There's a lot of people getting into situationships. If that's what's okay, if that's what each party wants, but it's not usually. One party kind of wants that and the other party wants more. That's the problem of nowadays. People just don't communicate exactly what they want. They don't know.
conquers all. Here's the warning. Love without a material foundation is like loose sand. 2 steps and it falls apart.
Yep.
The difference now is that even the sand has to be notarized. And for those who still believe in love, there's only one wish left. May your true feelings never need the law to prove them.
This new scam-proof version of marriage didn't come out of nowhere. It's simply a reflection of a society that has been broken for a long time.
I wonder who broke it. I wonder who used this system to scam. Now and then they had to fix it to where they scam-proofed it. Who?
As I've said in other videos, it's impossible.
Yeah, I sound like an owl again. Who?
Possible for any human relationship to exist without some form of interest, whether material, emotional, social, or symbolic. And that, by itself, is not wrong. The problem was never interest. The problem is the hypocrisy of pretending it doesn't exist. Many men like to say that a woman is gold-digging because she wants someone with money, stability, or assets.
That's what we say nowadays, but I wouldn't consider that a gold digger. Like, that's just a normal person, a normal woman that wants to get married, just wants a man with these things. You know, it's just how much of these things is required for her to even speak with him or even interact with him. That becomes the gold diggery part.
But those same men, in most cases, were first attracted to her looks, her youth, her femininity, or the status she represents.
True.
And that is also interest. The funny thing is that this kind of interest is almost never called interest. It's romanticized, normalized, accepted. The other kind, however, is treated as a moral crime.
True.
The new marriage law didn't create this reality. It just removed the makeup. It made explicit something everyone already knew but chose to ignore. Marriage was never just about love.
It never was. And never, since the caveman days, Neanderthal days, I don't think it was ever because of love. It was because of procreation. It's always been about procreation and how humans interpret it as, you know, time went on and it became somewhat love, became protection, it became the best outcome for families. So it just made it better and better and just we saw things as it evolved.
Was always an exchange, always a negotiation, always a deal, even if, in the past, that deal was disguised as an eternal promise. The problem starts when someone demands more than they can offer, when someone enters a relationship not to build, but to extract.
Correct.
When I love you becomes a short-term strategy. When marriage stops being a partnership and turns into a scam. And yes, this happens on both sides, but
Yes.
Today it's impossible to ignore that there is an entire industry built on pretending genuine affection only to pull off a clean, legal, socially accepted con in the end. This law
Would be the sprinkle lady and just all of her content and women like that telling to finesse and work men to use and abuse rich men, older men.
exists because the system lost control, because stories of people losing their homes, their life savings, and even their mental health stopped being rare exceptions. Because trust was
I mean, how many men are in the grave because of divorce? You know, because they had to end themselves because they couldn't handle the pressures and then just the devastation of divorce sometimes.
eroded case by case, ruling by ruling. The state didn't step in to save love. it stepped in to limit the damage.
Yes.
And the side effect is obvious. When the law can only protect property, feelings become secondary. When everything requires proof, receipts, transfers, and contracts, romance becomes a risk.
I do hate to say it, but yeah, you kind of need to protect yourself, so have records of stuff.
Marriage stops being a life project and turns into a cost-benefit calculation. It's not that young people no longer believe in love. They just realize that believing blindly can be too expensive.
It would be the juice ain't worth the squeeze saying, right there.
Maybe the real question isn't who killed love, but rather, how long are we going to pretend that love survives on its own, without balance, responsibility, or reciprocity?
True.
Because love doesn't pay the mortgage, doesn't cover debt, and doesn't compensate for emotional or legal losses. And when someone enters a relationship only to win and never to lose, that's not romance. That's opportunism.
Yep.
In the end, this law isn't cold. Cold is the society that needed it. It doesn't destroy marriage, it reveals what marriage had already become. And maybe that's exactly why it bothers people so much, because it forces everyone, men and women alike, to look in the mirror and admit that not every interest is wrong, but every form of exploitation is.
Correct.
Now, I want to hear your opinion.
I think it's a great law. I think that China has seen things as what's going on and has progressed their laws enough to where it's a little bit more even. Is it completely even? Of course not. Nothing can ever be completely even, especially when feelings are involved. But at least when it comes to asset and asset division, it becomes a lot more even and more people are more willing to jump into marriage if that portion at least becomes even. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.